So you get a lot of crappy documentaries out there that exchange access for not very good storytelling. You make what of what is happening in our industry, an industry you care about?
So, in many ways, Dan, this is the reckoning for our industry and traditional media. And when I say reckoning, that doesn't always mean in the most positive ways. For a long time, and still continually, our business was not diverse, it was not inclusive. And when that's the default operation, the people you're alienating at some point will get tired of it and decide to tell their own stories and decide to build their own platforms. And even though it has created this idea that everybody with a microphone is a journalist, in some ways we're responsible for that because of how we've covered professional athletes, especially Black athletes, with how we've covered entertainment, especially Black entertainers. So this is just a byproduct of them, frankly, being sick of our.
Sports journalist and author Jamele Hill spoke on the ever-changing landscape of sports media, and her perspective is fascinating.
You know, why Draymond Green is talking about new media, not understanding that the core function of journalism is to challenge everything. And they don't do that. And I'm not talking about Draymond in particular, but you having a podcast with your buddy is not the same as them sitting down with a trained journalist. And by trained, I don't even mean somebody that went to college, but it reminds me of something that, my boss at The Atlantic said, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief. He said, you're a real journalist if you can sit down and write an entire profile of your best friend and it's not glowing, and you bringing up all the things that might make that person uncomfortable and you still asking them about it. That to me is journalism. Journalism is not sitting down with somebody and telling them how great they are and just being a stenographer and allowing them to repeat things that go unchecked and unchallenged.
Is she wrong? I personally don't think so, but there's more, and then we'll discuss.
There is a way that things, I think, at least the way I was brought up, the way that journalism is to be, the function of what it is. But at the same time, with the lack of inclusiveness in our business has been the reason why so many athletes and so many entertainers have decided to create their own platforms.
Many athletes are sick and tired of seeing the narrative get spun from the likes of Skip Bayless for nearly 20 years. Ditto with Stephen A. Smith, when he clearly at one point sent a threat to one athlete.
They don't want Kevin Durant just because his name. You don't want to make an enemy out of me. And I'm looking right into the camera. And I'm going to say it again. You do not want to make an enemy out of me. I'm not having it. I've done nothing wrong, and I'm not going to tolerate it.
Let me stop you there.
The Hill-Le Batard discussion was sparked by Draymond Green.
When I speak from the heart. When I speak, no, it's real, it's thoughtful, and more importantly, it's truthful. When I say sincerely yours, the new media, what I mean by that is the landscape of media is about to change. You will no longer be allowed to sit there and say what you want. You will no longer be allowed to put out these false narratives.
This was in response to Chris Mad Dog Russo's shut up and play comments directed at Green. Awful Announcing piggybacked off Hill's comments, mainly how Black athletes are treated by the media. Part of that blank is the tendency to treat professional athletes like inanimate objects rather than human beings with emotion. But it's also the expectation that pro athletes should devote all their time into being great at the sport they play and then unfairly expect them to continue performing during interviews. Pro athletes are a little quirky. Any person who devotes that much time, effort, and skill to being great at one thing is a little quirky. Not all of them are going to be great in front of a microphone, but the media often has unrealistic expectations as to how athletes should act or sound during interviews or pressers. And there is no better example than how the media treated Naomi Osaka for what she has to endure because of, and as she has been open about, her own struggles. Venus and Serena Williams, LeBron James and Mark Schwartz is another primo example. I mean, endless, really. Hill recognizes there's value in Green and other athletes talking into their own microphones, but she also acknowledged that just having a podcast doesn't make someone a journalist. Now, one talking head who has made the rounds on ESPN and Fox Sports is this man who you see on your screen, Rob Parker. After NBA player turned analyst J.J. Redick said on ESPN's First Take that we should not focus on the Lakers' failures this season or potential failures this season, and we should only focus on LeBron James's success, Rob Parker went off.
Don't worry about the final score. Really? JJ, why don't you quit that job since you don't want to critique the games and you don't want to criticize the Lakers? Give up your job and go to the Lakers, get season tickets, and applaud LeBron James the entire season. How dare you? Do you understand where the word fan comes from? From fanatics. People care about their teams, and you're telling them after game one to throw the towel in, to not care whether the Lakers win or lose?
Then he wrote in a piece for Deadspin, JJ Redick is Exhibit A, why you can't trust most former athletes to tell you the truth. Many athletes are compromised and have so many conflicts of interest that they can't keep it real with the fans. They have played with a player they are critiquing. They played for an organization in the past. Their agents represent a player that should be blasted. They went to the same college or belonged to the same fraternity. People just want an honest take. If peeps just wanted only the good, team websites would be popular with fans. But they aren't, because fans understand that most are just PR tools. You won't read anything negative on those sites, no matter how poorly a team plays. Fans would rather read the truth about their teams, even if it's brutal to hear. When you hear guys like Draymond talk about new media, it's code for athletes covering themselves. Basically, it's athletes covering for each other. The traditional media would have been out of business a long time ago if fans only respected the opinions of people who played the game. Okay, so look, in my opinion, to say only players are compromised is wrong and inaccurate and pointless. I'll start at, mid-level and go up. Did he go after Stephen A. Smith for creating this anti-Cowboys character? No, of course not. Did he go after Skip Bayless for being so pro-Dallas? No, of course not. But there are agendas at play as well. Many in the media have relationships with players. A lot of them want to line themselves up later on to then write the autobiography on this guy, or, to co-write a piece on this person when they're done playing, or they want to be able to host a show with a player. CJ McCollum has a podcast with a media member. So there are conflicts of interest, as we do know. So they try to keep friendly relationships. One that is happening before our very eyes is Sham Charania with Kyrie Irving. It's fairly obvious that he is covering for Kyrie, is what I will say. Did Rob Parker question Adam Schefter with the Dalvin Cook situation? Because clearly there is something there that Schefter took Dalvin Cook's agent's words as fact, and then had to delete what he wrote online and had to give an apology. He has done this many times. Did he go after Adam Schefter when Schefter joined, along with Robert Kraft, a gambling company? No, I didn't see it. Did he go after Sham Charania when he joined a gambling company? No, I didn't see it. So the conflicts of interest are certainly there, along with NFL insider Jay Glazer, who owns a gym and has members of the NFL go to it. And I believe I said gaming. It's a gambling company that Schefter is joining. So there are all these different conflicts of interest. To say that it is only the players and that media members are, completely clean, asinine, ludicrous, wrong. And I didn't see it. So I'm sorry if I missed it, but I don't think he put it in the piece. And that is a huge, huge red flag. Because just how JJ Redick would have a relationship with one guy, there are media members who have that very same relationship with the teams and players that they cover. I mean, hell, former ESPN and The Athletic writer Ethan Strauss allege Adrian Wojnarowski sends a packet of documents to agents and NBA team employees as part of a personal campaign to encourage them to leak news to him instead of other insiders. A PowerPoint presentation includes social media and analytical comparisons between Woj's reach and the reach of rival newsbreakers. As far as who actually created the packet for Woj, sources told Strauss it was CAA, the agency that represents Woj, as well as other NBA players, coaches, and executives, like Bill Simmons, Jalen Rose, or a few other names. The way we're doing it now in the present evolution of this, where you have to transact relationships in a way that skirt around some journalism principles that I grew up with, said Dan Le Batard, makes me uncomfortable. But beyond that, what makes me uncomfortable is the obsessive addition of 2:30 in the morning. You got to worry that someone else in the world in the information age has information that you don't have.